Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. 2026, a milestone, 5 years in the making. The Andre the Beast Creighton Show, co-host Yolanda Smith. This is a season that I call monumental. And let me explain what I mean when I say monumental. Anybody that's an entrepreneur knows that something about the number 5 determines where you keep going from this point on. If you can sustain the first year, the second, third, fourth, and fifth. Fifth is everything is there. It's just like building a house. Everything is there. But today and all through 2026, I'm going to bring in guests that help lay the foundation. To help with the brick, with the mortar, with the beast mindset that saw my vision. I saw their vision. In other words, we all saw the future. Because I remember going, what the hell is a podcast? I remember somebody telling me nobody will ever watch a video podcast. I said, watch what I make happen. Through the universe, through the downloads, through the people that God, or however you call them, whether it's Yahweh, whether it's Muhammad, whether it's whatever, that spirit came upon me and put me in this position to create a platform for everyone to speak their mind, no matter what it is. This is a judge-free zone. But what I mean by judge-free zone is you also have to have the ability to listen to somebody, not to judge, but to listen. Because like my buddy that's getting ready to come on just said, and so many other people, we all have a common thread. And I think that's called spirituality and humanity. Now, let me go here with this guest. The reason I had to have him back. The greatest football player that I know of, and there's been a lot of them, but one football player stands out. I used to try to replicate him. I wasn't big, but damn it, I try to run over motherfuckers. He is a legend beyond legend. And I often wondered as I watched his career unfold and seen it diminish with illnesses and a major conglomerate kind of turned their back to what they saw. But I wondered, what about his kids? We always see these superstars, and we never think of the weight that they have to carry. I remember, which we can get to our guests in a second, but I'm wrap this up by saying, I remember as a professional athlete, professional bodybuilder, friends would say, "Where's your trophies at?" I said, "I don't have any. I threw them all away." "Well, what about your kids?" I said, "I don't want to put that on their back." That was something I decided to do. If they want to be doctors, lawyers, whatever, they took a road that is truly successful. Both my daughters are therapists, and my son works for the FBI. I couldn't ask for anything better than to watch them go to a level that's great. It doesn't mean it surpassed me. It just means that they found what they wanted to do, and I have to bless them and support them. So let's go back to opening up this show. Wonder what that's like to be the child of one of the greatest Hall of Famers that ever played the game, whose legacy still shakes the foundation of Texas. No other than the son himself, Mr. Tyler Campbell. back to help me launch off 5 years in the making of the show. What's up, big dog?
Man, I just want to give you flowers, brother, because as an entrepreneur, I don't think we celebrate each other enough.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible milestone, man. And so for me, it takes me back to just being a host on this. And I mean, not a host, but a guest on here, and seeing all the dreams that you've had continue to matriculate. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's a blessing to be a small part of it. But at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and wish blessings over where you're going to continue to go. Because I feel like you still are just scratching the surface over all the impact that you're going to continue to have.
No, we're going to have it together because remember, I told you something. You don't remember this. I called you right before I had my first knee replacement.
Yeah.
And I said, you had your radio show. You was just starting back your radio show.
Yeah.
And I said, Tyler, I want you to come on board because I'm getting ready to have my own radio station. Not show, station. Now we got it. So you getting ready to come on to the I Am Beast Network, dog.
Black on. That's fine by me, brother. That's fine by me because like I said, it's beautiful when you see people speak things into existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've done that and are doing that.
Thank you. And we're gonna talk about that for a minute. But for the viewers who never heard of Tyler Campbell, but they heard of your father, Earl Campbell, the legend. I call him the ground shaker. Tell Earl that's his new name, the ground shaker.
Hey, I like that. I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
What kind of pressure was that for you? What was it like growing up for you?
For me, you're going to love it. Number one, my dad was kind of the same model you were. So, he did not keep trophies at the house. Really? He did not have any of those things. He didn't want any of those things like you. He didn't want any of that on his children, forced. And so I want to say that obviously you see how that matriculated onto your children. And I feel like it fell upon me and my brother the same way, where that safe space to be who you're going to be.
Right. And
you should strive to be who you are destined to be by the man up above and not try to emulate what has already been done.
Right.
And that's what he would say. He would say, man, I've already gone to the Hall of Fame. I've already won the Heisman Trophy. I've been to the Pro Bowls. I've done it all.
Yeah.
You go do something else. That has already been conquered for our family. So you don't have to worry about that. Go do something else.
Laid the tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I done already done that. You good. So now you're free to go. Ain't no pressure. And that's what helped us, was that there wasn't pressure at home. And whatever was withstanding on the outside, that was a whole nother monster. I think the majority of the problems that I had was that there was always that outside comparison from other people. And while there was love at home, I got to be human with you. The moment you pick up a football, you just got to be ready for it. That's you are going to quickly be compared to your father. And I had to deal with those nuances growing up. But the one thing that was a safe haven was that there was love at home. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna ask you something too. You got to see your father play football. Did it ever really impact you? Because I know home is a safety net. But let's get real. We still people need to realize we still dealing with the biggest handicap in society.
Yeah.
And that's the human factor. Especially when you're young. It's brutal. You got kids that are looking at your dad. They're looking at you, and even though you can't really process everything that's going on at a young age, how do you maneuver through that?
No, I'm going, and that's the next mindset of it, is while you did have the love at home as a male, as a person, as a human being, you're still going to be dealing with life in your own way. You're still going to be dealing with adversities. And that is the part of it that you have to learn to formulate. And that is a thing that I was not necessarily educated on. And I had to navigate through that. I didn't understand that while trying to remain and be a humble person, be a person that don't bring up your father, be somebody who just wants to fit in doing so, you are masking your heart in many ways in life, meaning you're putting how you really feel on the back burner. And I think that's probably one of my biggest hindrances of what I had to figure out how to navigate in my own adulthood was I was so accustomed to trying to fit in. I oftentimes denied what my heart really wanted to say, how I really wanted to feel. And that's not always healthy, right?
Yeah.
But you're Earl Campbell's son. You're supposed to carry yourself a certain way in the media. You're supposed to carry yourself a certain way out in public because what you do has ramifications for your last name and what your father does.
Right.
And so those are some of the biggest hurdles that I had to face was you ultimately have to deny yourself and put a smile on all the time. And that's not necessarily the reality of how life is supposed to be lived. And so as I got older, a lot of the things, as your boy is somebody who sees a therapist every 2 weeks to deal with my own crazy. And no, that's not a bad thing as a Black person. It's a real thing. Most of our conversations are working and navigating things that I never brought up that I experienced in my adolescent childhood years. And so I feel like at the age of 39 now, I am more free than I have ever been. And I often wonder what it would have been like if I would have learned how to bring up these nuances in my own personal life growing up. Not only because of my father, but just a person in general. I did not know how to free myself. I did not know that I didn't have to carry certain things. I did not know that my heart does matter and that I should speak on things, that I should open. And if I don't like something, I'm supposed to stand up and say something. I didn't know that those were okay things to do. And that's a part of my journey now that I am proud of. I'm getting a hold of it now and not taking those things to my grave.
Were you afraid to, let me use a different word. I'm putting myself in your shoes.
Yeah.
I didn't have a role model, sort of. My father wasn't there. He was there like this,
Gotcha.
money.
Yeah.
He wasn't there spiritually and emotionally. That came from the coach. And then when the only black coach at our school got released, that was a mind fuck for me.
I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah, that was a mind fuck. I'm like, okay, who would I go to? Because that white dude don't live in my neighborhood.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? It really, Tyler, made me more focused, more determined, but at the same time, it was that, what the fuck am I doing this shit for? So let's go to you.
Yeah.
How much was your father present in the home as a mentor versus the pressure that you saw as an adult and a child being put on him as a star athlete, as the face of Houston, so to speak, in that franchise?
Yeah. I think I wanted to give kudos to my pop because I think the realization that he put onto me very early was great, and it allowed me to have grace on him when he was raising a child. Number one, he was definitely there. My dad was definitely in the household. Pops and mom been together since they were 15 and 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I have a long history, family ties. It was a solid place to grow up in. I had to also recognize that the way that I was being raised was different than my people. And they did help me understand that. I think my pa was very good at, son, my dad died on me when I was in the 5th grade.
Wow.
I'm learning how to be a dad with you and your brother. Because a lot of the things that I wanted to have as a child, I didn't. My dad was dead and gone. I was raised by a single mother, had 10 other brothers and sisters. So he was very open about his shortcomings and hurts that he felt like were weaknesses as a father. In terms of he did do a fantastic job of making himself available. A fantastic job of doing the things that he longed for. He never missed games. And if he missed games, he made sure that we understood why he was missing them. Right. He did an excellent job. The best thing I would say my father did was he hugged us and he kissed us. And so what that did for me as a young boy was it made my heart willing to be emotional, right? Which I still say thankful for this day, because I had this big muscular man in my adolescent years who would sit us on his knee and still hug us and kiss us and say, please give me a kiss goodnight. Or I'm going to kiss you and give you a kiss goodnight. I did not understand that was a big deal as a black man.
Yeah.
Until I met, until talking to teammates and everything else. And so what I would say is he did an excellent job of giving us what he longed for that he never received.
That is crazy.
He never received from his own father, not because his dad didn't, but just because his dad was not around. And so a lot of the things that he wished for, wished that his dad would be up in the stands, wished that his dad would hug him, would wish he did those things for us.
Wow. When you, what were some of the impactful things that you saw your father go through and the people that was around him as a man of color? That as you start to get older, you start to really see it transpire into your life, even though they try to shield you from it.
Yeah.
Now you had you got to play the game of chess now. What they try to shield you from is now reality.
I had to understand, excuse me, y'all.
Go ahead, take your time.
That was. But one of the biggest things was everybody loves to marvel at Earl Campbell, the football player, and the accolades, the rushing yards, and all those things. What I had to grow and understand was to recognize he wasn't just a football player down here in the South in the state of Texas. My father grew up on one of the most in one of the most racist counties in the state of Texas, which is Smith County in East Texas. So the story that I received from my dad that the outside world didn't understand was, yes, he was a football marvel. But from the time that my dad was 16 years old, he was responsible for breaking barriers racially within the state of Texas that we live in. And what I mean by that is when integration started to happen, my dad was a part of the first state championship in high school in Tyler, Texas, in Smith County, that ultimately ended up changing the narrative of how people of outside races thought about black people.
Really?
And he understood it earlier. If you look at my dad's recruitment, when he started getting marveled and the University of Oklahoma was going after him at Barry Switzer, he ended up saying that my people have been selling themselves for years, but my body is not for sale. My dad was 17 years old when he did that quote and he signed to the University of Texas. So what my dad understood was that he had an incredible gift. And in this method of integration that was taking place in Smith County, Texas, and being a part of bringing the first ever state championship to John Tyler High School was revolutionary in East Texas, this historically racial part of East Texas. And here comes this man with an incredible gift that is allowing people of other cultures to come together. And he was the one who told me that that's probably one of his most proud moments. And so when you look at him now, we have official heroes here in the state of Texas. There's Davy Crockett, there's Stam Houston, there's Stephen F. Austin, and the fourth is my father, Earl Campbell, as declared by our state legislature on Capitol Hill in Austin, Texas. Earl Campbell is an official hero, a state hero here in Texas.
I didn't even know that.
And that's the part I would say. That's the part where I would say I really understand that whatever I do in life, it ain't for play. Right. Like what I come from a revolutionary, somebody who really took his people, put them on his back and helped change things in the state of Texas in a way, not necessarily where he was in front of a microphone, not in a way that he was leading the marches. He used his God-given gift to play ball, and he helped me understand that whatever God gives you, he can do it to utilize it in a situation where it uplifts your people, where it touches the masses of people around you. But all you have to do is be psychologically aware that what you have is not just about you, and it never was. My dad's like, I got 7 other brothers. I got 6 other brothers. Yeah. And I was the one that was given this gift. So it was never about me. And all of my uncles are huge. My dad is not the biggest one. Not even close.
Really?
No. My family is from the country, bro. We country folk, solid folk. Grew up picking roses and planting peas and hauling watermelon and baling hay. Like, we are big people. My dad is not even close to being the biggest one, but my dad came along when integration was taking place. So he had opportunities
Right.
that his other brothers didn't get. And so I think that's the narrative that I understood early, was that this name that you wear is not just a football name.
Mm-hmm.
And you utilize your name and your gift to help bless your people and also impact the masses of people around your people to change the narratives of, or what are thought of, your people.
Let's talk about, I'm going to show people something here, what you just said. I think people shortchange themselves.
Big time.
Let me, it was funny because I had somebody on the show and they kind of quoted the same thing. And what I mean by this, so people can understand, yeah. I'm trying to elevate your mind.
Yes, sure.
And you have to open your mind to, in order to understand the message here.
Yes.
We've been so conditioned to think the impossible versus thinking possibility and purpose. Your father was a prime example of all of that. Well, is a prime example of all of those words put together. Let's talk about you for a moment here and show you how apples don't fall far from the tree. And you said something when we first started shaking my tree. I shake my tree every day too.
Yeah.
But when you got recruited, that torch was handed to you in a way that you didn't even really probably see it happening, where you saw brothers of your own color not able to fit in and made a way for them to fit in to school. What was that like for you?
You know, my recruiting, I didn't necessarily have the good stories that everybody else had, because you know, for me, we talked about on the show previously, you know, I had issues with alcohol growing up. I was an alternative school kid, the kid that was battling some of the things we talked about earlier, which was I kept a lot of things internally and did not necessarily know how to outwardly express. And so alcohol was the way that I was able to do that. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about my recruiting process, I didn't really get it because I blew it. You know, I didn't really, you know, it was there, but it never mounted to signing a letter of intent on signing day, national signing days, and all these things that are prevalent in the communities nowadays. You know, so recruiting for me was kind of a sad story. What was unique was every person, every coach, Notre Dame, Arizona State, all these schools, was how they thought of my father. And of course, you know, some stuff is hearsay because, you know, you have this body that everybody wants. They want to utilize your body for a product on the field. I mean, it's sports, right? So everybody's going to tell you a good story. But I will say this, the one commonality in the stories of my father wasn't about his body. It was about how he was as a person. Mm-hmm. Everybody always felt like Earl Campbell was that athlete that they could talk to, that had that personality that they could identify with, a country boy from East Texas who loved his mama, who always carried himself the right way. And everybody was always like, given the upbringing, it's unbelievable that his career matriculated and he was the person that he was. It was a larger than life thing. You didn't just fall in love with Earl Campbell for who he was on the field. It was the stuff he did off the field. Mm-hmm. That always spoke volumes to me. And when they said Earl Campbell, there was never anything negative tied to it. You know what I'm saying? And now, as far as you fast forward and getting into college and you meet all these other brothers, it was almost a heartbreaking moment for me when I finally signed a letter of intent. I finally got to San Diego State University. The heartbroken thing for me was how many of my brothers on the team did not have access to their dad. Wow. Didn't have nobody to tell them about the recruiting process. Didn't have anybody to help them to have a business-like approach when it came to college. Didn't have nobody to necessarily tell them, yo, take full advantage of a 4-year education where people are paying for your stuff. Yeah. And don't just take what they have. Get over on all the resources that are on campus. Get over on all the opportunities. Make Rolodexes, meet people, and set yourself up for when you leave. You don't let college use you. You use college. That was game given to me. My mindset from the time I got to university was totally different. it was on some other stuff outside of sports, right? But
Mm-hmm.
for my brothers, it was football or die.
Mm.
And so there was a wave of pressure. Even though I was Earl Campbell's son, I felt like my brothers on the squad were dealing with a whole nother level of pressure from back home. They
Mm.
got to make it. You got to make it. Some of my brothers were fathers, right? Coming out of high school. I got to make this money. This has to work. And I just always felt like some of my brothers, man, I really was blessed to have a dad because they were dealing with a lot of pressure to not be free, because they've always been that athlete that everybody expected to make it.
How did they perceive you yourself?
Oh yeah,
Did they look at you as a legend, or
no, hey man, my every new team that I've been on, you are Earl Campbell's son. You are expected. You come from money. You got your nose in the sky, right? You ain't gonna be you're gonna be selfish. You're gonna not talk to people about yourself. You're gonna talk to people about the things your dad has done.
Mm-hmm.
But that was normal to me. There's always a preconceived notion of who I was as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I got comfortable with that in my adolescent years. That's always, not just sports, but just life. You come from money. You know what I'm saying? A lot of my brothers would say that, oh, you come from money. You don't know our struggle. And so the identifying piece of it would be, I always walked into a situation where my father would be the last thing that I talked about. I never told people my name was Tyler Campbell. I always went by TC.
That's pretty
Because
smart.
TC, it showcased the separation, right? And so there was no Campbell attached. Like, I'm just TC. And so once I let my brothers know that I was more intrigued and invested into them as people, I was more in tune with what was your life growing up in inner city New Orleans. You was in South Central. Like, once I let people know that I was intrigued about your world. And I didn't talk as much. I did a lot of listening. My dad said, too many people are good at talking, but no one wants to excel at listening. Be a good listener. And once my brothers figured out that I was more invested and more intrigued about their life and the way that they grew up, that made the gateway of breath to understand that, man, TC is just a regular cat like me. So I would never talk about my dad. Now, if they wanted to talk about him, fine. But
yeah.
you're not going to miss the same way I am right now, Dre. You know that. I'm only going to talk about him when somebody else builds the platform to talk about.
Were you able to relate to them in so to speak? Because let's get real. You did come from a different type of pressure. You know what I mean? Well, were you able to kind of relate to them to some degree?
Yeah. So the blessing, I understood why God did not allow me to get the scholarships right out of high school and go. I had to go to junior college. For those people who don't know, junior college is the last stomping ground. You don't make it in JC, that's it. You're going to end up going home doing something. It's the last place to where dream of playing a collegiate sport still has legs, still has wheels. So I went to junior college, to Pasadena City College, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me before getting to a 4-year institution. And the reason being is because everybody in junior college is fending for themselves. You still working a job. Maybe you're still taking care of the family. You're still having it. Hey, you're trying to fight for education and fight for, like, I had a job in junior college. You know what I'm saying? I was taking the bus in junior college, just like my brothers. I was not in Austin, Texas, growing up on the west side of Austin with my family. I was in here trying to make it just like they were. And what happens is, what I noticed is, when you're struggling, and when you're struggling in unison with brothers on your team, it makes room for a person's heart to flourish because you feel like you're at a like-minded lane. So junior college gave me real brothers with real problems. Junior college gave me brothers who had seen their cousins gunned down across the street from them in New Orleans. Junior college had given me people who were fathers. Junior college gave me Bloods and Crips, and what not to do and what to do. And so being around those brothers, I was introduced into their world because we were struggling at the same rate. And once they saw that I was just like them, that my mama and daddy wasn't flying out here every weekend, that I wasn't. That's when I fully understood that to gain a relationship with somebody, you have to spend time in their world. And my brothers in junior college allowed me to be in their world. I'm talking about, I had brothers on the team who were so immersed in the blood gang culture, they never said words that started with a C, because the C stood for the Crips. And so in my mind, I was like, man, these brothers chase colors this bad that they won't even say words that start with a C.
Yeah.
I had never seen stuff like that, but that was a world that I was entrusted in. And then I found the love because I was so naive, right?
Yeah.
I was so blown away because I'm a suburban black kid. Like, I was so blown away that because my heart was pure, because I wasn't somebody who was trying to get over on them, wasn't somebody who was trying to use them. Like, my brothers had real keen senses of danger. They may not have been the smartest people in the classroom. I'm not saying that. But when it comes to sensing and feeling danger as inner city black kids,
yeah,
I learned because of what they had been through that their IQ levels in terms of sensing and feeling danger were monumental through the roof. And so what it really meant to me was they have a heart seal of protection. I had never felt a love as deep as a love that I felt from other men at that time in my life who were struggling. I had never felt, and I had never, because what they did was they said, TC, you don't need to roll with us. You need to stay here. Because your heart is too good. You don't need to be and go where we going. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of love that I would receive from some of the guys on the team. And it was only because I wanted to be where you were. I wanted to learn. I didn't want to take. I didn't want to use. The system had done far too much of that already in their lives. They know what it's like to be used. They know what it's like to be taken advantage of. I just wanted to sit back and learn. And what that did for me was it made me appreciate Tyler so much more. It made me appreciate my father so much more, my mother so much more, because my brothers were so broken and had been through so much. They didn't have those things, but I marveled at them because they were still chasing dreams, Dre. They still out here, still working in the midst of their struggle, fighting to play college football in the midst of all they had been through in their adolescence. My teammates, to me, were the greatest superheroes that I've ever known.
What do you think now? We're in 2026 and we've seen a complete shift in the sports industry, especially when it comes to the portal and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it, because I remember before I signed my scholarship, it's nothing for a college to give you a car. I was like, wow. As soon as I got to college, that shit got cut out. I'm like, hey.
Get him, Dre. Tell him you was having NIL before NIL, baby.
Yeah, I'm like, where's my money at? But we look at it now, and this is where I'm going with this. I'm not knocking any athlete, so don't take it wrong. I'm kind of like you. If an opportunity is there, then you need to take it and keep building on an opportunity. But then again, I don't see the, how can I put it where this makes sense? Let me use myself, for example.
Talk to self. Use self. Say, hey, self.
I had to remember everybody's phone number. You know what I'm saying? I remember I had to remember my address. We didn't have cell phones. I remember when the three-way call came out.
Come on.
I remember when the microwave came out. I was happy as hell. Popcorn? Shit. Pop, pop, pop. The CD player. It's funny because I talked to my daughter and my son, man, they laugh about this shit. I'm like, look, I was happy to get a CD. But what I'm saying here is I've seen the changing of humanity, especially with our young men, and let's call it what it is, our women too.
Yeah. Both ways, baby.
It's like everything is, when it's easy to attain. Thank you for the download. When it's easy to obtain, you don't value it as much.
So the cart before the horse is the old slogan, right? And so I also call it the bait and switch. And that's why, like, what my dad had said so many years ago, brother, it still resonates, kind of till this day about being bought and sold. And so a lot of times now I'm not mad at them because they getting paid, and by all means get your money. But sometimes you don't value the gift that you have. You don't take advantage of the opportunity when you know that you've already been given the reward before you actually earned a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then because you've got it, you're not as hungry for things. And here, my biggest one that I tell some of the young people, even some of my cousins who are getting recruited now, it's you don't just get to jump from job to job. If somebody says something that they don't like about you at work, you have a family, you got priorities, you don't just get to say, "Oh, I'm leaving,"
Right.
because I'm not getting treated right, or because I'm not always getting paid the money that right? You don't just get to up and leave. And you don't just get to hop from place to place. And so one of my biggest misconceptions that I feel like the portals and everything creates is that, like I said, by all means, young person, get your money, but life doesn't work that way in the real world. You gotta navigate through problems. You gotta learn how to deal with people who don't like you.
Mm.
And you have a family who is dependent on you. And just because you don't like what somebody said about you, you don't just get to up and leave, because now how you gonna provide for your wife and your children? It doesn't, like, you have to weather through some stuff, and it kind of it irons you, it calluses you in such a way, and you appreciate things a lot more when you go full-fledged with your earnings of those things. There are some principles and some values that a person carries about themselves that reach far deeper than money. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, I don't think you recognize how much you love something. I don't think you recognize what your true intrinsic gifts are until you don't have the money. But if you don't have the money, can you still wake up and do what God blessed you with?
You need to
You know what
say
I'm
that
saying? Because I
again.
think in entrepreneurship, you will say this in your 5 years. There have been many times where you didn't feel like doing what in the world you were doing. There were times when you question yourself, like, is it really worth it? How about this? When the dollars are not necessarily making sense in your doggone bank account, you had every right, Dre, to give up on the dream.
Yeah.
Every right. And nobody would have criticized for you. But there's
Mhm.
something in you when the money was not there that said, I'm going to continue down this road. And here we are 5 years later. I feel like NIL doesn't allow our babies to build that callus to do those things. That life will put you in a place to where you're going to have to make a decision to do things when they are not at your convenience.
You hit it dead on the nose, because I'm like, damn, you mean to tell me they can just jump from one portal to the next and get money with no I said, this is the
Hey,
end game.
Dre,
Whoever controls them dollars is gonna say, hey, we ain't paying all this. This got to come to a halt.
Dre, they do it because, okay, I'm not getting the playing time, or coach don't like me. I'm giving away my it's just, I just worry about what I don't see the now. I see the long term. I look at my workforce. I look at us as men, men and women, right? I hope that won't continue to be the precedent, because there are some things in life that sometimes you got to go through them, right?
Mhm.
It builds and musters your character for some stuff you're going to face further down the future that you have no idea is coming. I'm going to tell you, the best thing that ever happened to me was not being a star in college. That was the best thing. Football was a struggle. I got changed positions. I was a running back. I ended up getting moved to fullback. Guess what fullbacks do? They don't get to touch the ball. All they do is block.
Mm.
So I went my whole college career like having to navigate, do I love this game because I'm playing a position I don't like? You know what that was setting me up for? That was setting me up for dealing with an autoimmune disease that I'm living with today, that I don't like the fact that my limbs get taken away. My memory goes away. That I'm forced to deal with erectile dysfunction issues since I was 21. I don't like that. But guess what, Dre? I can't throw a pity party. I can't get mad. I can't quit.
Mm-hmm.
I got to learn how to navigate. And guess what? I've got to figure out a way to come up on top victoriously.
Mm.
I can't run from my autoimmune disease. I can't burn out. And so when I look back at what college taught me, my brothers taught me everything. I told you that. I'm also thankful that I didn't play and become a star, because if everything would have gotten handed to me, because you get preferential treatment when you're a star. You know that. That's
Mm-hmm.
sports, right? That's just how it goes. But I scratched and I clawed and I fought for everything to stay on the field as a fullback, playing football with a disease. Those things prepped me for life. I kid you not. And I don't think if I was a star in college, I would be able to be talking to you right now. And I certainly don't think I would have quit on myself in life when faced with the autoimmune disease that has no cure. I would have quit, bar none.
When you was diagnosed with this and you shared it with your family,
Mm-hmm.
you're still human. How do you rise?
Because a Campbell never quits.
Damn. I like that. I like that.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And never, ever quit. And so here's your other one. When my dad said if you think about it, son, if you never quit at something, you can never lose at something. That was mind blowing for me in my earlier years in life. If you don't quit, you don't lose. Think about that. You don't quit. Only time people lose when they quit, when they give up in life. Like, think about that. And then what that allowed me to do is recognize that my life's journey was setting me up to sit in any room that my heart desires to be in. No, I don't have a background as an inspirational speaker. I've never been an author. We don't have book writers in our family. Ain't nobody ever hosted radio shows, et cetera, et cetera. But I had to understand that the journey of life has qualified me to step in any room that my heart desires with unwavering confidence that I'm supposed to be there. That's what the journey of life calluses you for. And so here's the nugget. Here's the nugget though, Dre. This is what I had to understand, that I have to stop disqualifying my qualifications.
Damn.
Right there. You have to stop disqualifying your qualifications. I gotta use it. So here's what it is. Okay. So I start becoming an activist for multiple sclerosis, right? And advocating for Black men with multiple sclerosis. And that kind of ends up being my journey. And what I used to do was I would walk into a room with CEOs of pharmaceutical companies. I would walk into a room of executive vice presidents and doctors, right? People with PhDs and these neurosurgeons and neurologists. And I would shrink myself. I'd be like, they got all these degrees. I got a bachelor's. like, I'm an athlete. And what I had to understand was my journey qualifies me to be in this room. My journey of sitting with Jamal, my roommate, and him and I navigating what it was like for him to lose his cousin and watch him get gunned down in front of him in the street. And I'm with an 18, 19-year-old young man who's crying, thinking about the moment. I'm qualified. I understand matters of a heart as a Black man. I understand a struggle as a Black man. I understand what it was like to grow up in the inner city, not to the magnitude, but I carry the weight of the stories of my brothers in Pasadena City College with me. You don't know that with your PhDs and your degrees. You don't know what it was like to battle erectile dysfunction as a Black man at 21. You don't have my disease. I got my disease. You don't know what it's like to have to battle yourself mentally, and there's other voices in your head because you're navigating the healthcare system and the dollars ain't necessarily making sense, and you don't know how to feel the right side of your body. You have no idea what that feels like. And matter of fact, you can't tell me how I feel. So what I learned was, because I never quit on the journey, the relationships of people, I carry them with me, and the journey qualifies me to step in any doggone room that I choose in this world of being an advocate in the healthcare system and fighting for the underserved communities living with multiple sclerosis. I got that. And I will never, ever disqualify my life's qualifications based off of the papers that you have on the wall behind you at your desk.
Wow.
It doesn't make sense for me to be speaking in Denmark at the World Multiple Sclerosis Conference as a person who grew up in the States that don't have doctorate degrees, but I got a story and I'm living through it. I'm still here. I am qualified to be in this room with all of you healthcare professionals. And so I think what I hope people will learn as those who love your show and who follow you and know your journey, Andre, is that I am equally qualified. If it's doing what Andre is doing, or if it's doing whatever it is that I choose to do, I am qualified based off of my life's journey. And I will not disqualify those qualifications that have been written for me in the book of life with my journey.
Wow.
That's a fact.
That's powerful.
That's a fact. Don't do it.
Let's talk about this for a minute. We got time.
Come on.
Thank you for the download. I'm always saying thank you for download. People don't understand what that means is I consider everyone universal connected to whatever you believe in, but I get the downloads. Downloads say this is what you need to talk about.
Come on.
So let's go here for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about different pathways and journeys. Let's talk about the foundations and the roots that every human has.
Yes, sir.
And this is something that bugs me, and I'm gonna use 2026 to at least change the mindset of at least one person.
At least one person.
I get so sick of people telling me I really don't like my job, but it's money.
Mm-hmm.
We as people of color never had that mindset. And it's funny how now it's ingrained in everybody, no matter what color or ethnic group you come from. Let me go here with this so this makes sense, because you can answer this, because we're going to talk about your shift here.
Yeah.
I would rather struggle to find my purpose and to give back to humanity and myself than to chase a check. Because if you chase what you love and you create, everything will flow the way it's supposed to. You can't beat a river into submission. You have to roll with the current.
I love that. Don't be the dead fish that go with the flow.
So let me go here with this.
Yeah.
You leave football. You get MS. All of a sudden, you had a talent all alone that has flourished, and that's being a writer.
Yes.
Now, how did that even come about? What I'm telling people is you found a deeper passion than football.
Yeah. And Andre, I would say you already have it, and it's already been there, but your eyes were focused on the distraction that you never gave birth to your heart. And what I mean by that is I didn't understand that I always had a gift for words in my adolescent years, because I was so focused on the only doors that I thought were possible, which was football. I come from a football family. Not understanding that subject verb agreements, direct objects, indirect objects, infinitives, appositives, comma slices, like I actually fell in love with words when I was in the 6th grade. I was 10 turning 11 because I was a year behind everybody. So I had a love for words, but in my family, respectfully, ain't no birth, and we ain't at the dinner table talking about comma splices. You dig what I'm saying? We are not talking alliteration, onomatopoeias, and different poetry segments, right? We not on that. We like what happened. Did you see what Michael Jordan was doing? And did you know that Shaq and Kobe were going to go on this run when he was drafted out of Lower Merion High School in Philly, coming out of this, as a 6th man? We had sports conversations. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. And so when you talk about a love for words, I didn't give breath to this thing that excited me in my adolescent years of reading comic books, of reading these J.R. Tolkien books. I thought I was the weird black kid. You dig what I'm saying? So when we look at the journey and becoming an Amazon best-selling author and all those other things, I pinch myself because I should have been writing books. I should have been writing comics. I should have been writing my imagination and probably starting my own business of doing something with writing when I was 11 years old. And I took that Mrs. Shock's language arts class. I'll never stop thanking her to this day. That was the sign that I should have been doing. But
Really?
so, and then here's the caveat, because you talked about working the job and chasing the money. So let's get to that.
Mhm.
I would say, let's reframe it. I would say, use the money. Okay. If you work in the job, use the job to give birth to what your heart desires.
Yeah.
And let the goal of what you're doing be something that puts you on the trajectory to doing what you love to do. Because when you do something that you love to do, you'll recognize that it's easy to stay up to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
Or chasing clients.
Yeah.
But like it's not, it becomes, you get thrust into this thing where it's not really work. And you've never engaged in that because you're working for the check. So you don't know what it's like to immerse your energy into something that you can't even see until you start to do it. And so if you got to chase the money and provide, do what you have to do. Just have an onset of plan of where you want that to go for yourself, to where you're doing something that your heart desires. My brother, if you can create a Picasso and a masterpiece and you love to draw, then that check better be going through something that you put towards for yourself artistically.
Yeah.
Because that's what God crafted for you to do. So I don't want it to get twisted in what you're saying, Dre, because a lot of times people say, oh, he's telling me to quit my job and I shouldn't be working. I'm telling you to leverage where you are so that you can pour it back into what you're doing. Use what corporate America is taking out of you, and you flip the script and save to pour it back into yourself and your family. That's what we own, because when you do something for yourself, then you can give that into the community. Then you can go to the local elementary school and be a part of the career days.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Campbell, I thought you worked for Saks. I thought you worked and sold at Enterprise. No, my brother. Let me really show you what I do. You can build that. You can build. You love food like that. Like, you're a culinary person. Like, I would have never known. Listen, brother, what I do over here is something that I parlay into my goal and my dream. I don't let corporate America leverage me. I leverage corporate America. So it allows me to build a basin of doing something within our community. Matter of fact, that's why I'm here at your school today, because I want you to know that for yourself, that you can build something for yourself. And that thing that you think is weird, that thing that comes easy to you, that's the thing that God is telling you that you need to lean into. And then faith will open up the doors from there. I told you I was in Denmark. What boy growing up in Austin, Texas, thinks that he's going to be before people at a podium in Denmark at World Multiple Sclerosis Conference, where they're translating your languages in all these different TVs, and I'm somebody that does not have a PhD in the room?
Wow. And I think a lot of people, what I'm starting to recognize, a lot of people are comfortable being comfortable.
Yeah. But that's what the check world does for you, right? It makes you very comfortable. And so, like I said, if that is the heart's desire, then by all means, nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, when you're going home upset, and what you feel at your job is coming out on your wife or coming out on your children, when they are innocent bystanders in the whole scenario, you're doing those things because your heart isn't involved in something that brings you joy. And it's not happiness, because happiness comes in joy. Happiness is derived on exterior things. Joy comes from within, and joy never runs dry. So I'm not one that can be, you may be happy, right? You may have the house, the dog, and everything else, but your energy is fleeting and something is missing, or you're angry, or you're disgruntled, you don't like the people. It's because your heart ain't in what you're doing. And so if you got to leverage the check, be in this situation where you got to have that check that's coming in, then let's leverage that to build us to where we're creating something else that allows our hearts to be happy, that allows you to hug your children when you come home, that allows you to make room for those discussions with your wife in the evening because your heart is free in the things that you love to do. Because when your heart ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing, my brother, we men, right? That anger gets to us, right? We get mad when we ain't got no authority, right? When we in a box and we ain't really set free, we can't operate that way. And the people who suffer because our hearts aren't free are those who we love the most. And so not only do you owe it to yourself, bro, you owe it to everybody in your family to ensure that you're doing something as the man, as the leader in your household that sets you free.
Let's go here. You guys need to pay attention to what we're talking about. So let's go here for a minute.
Man, what they used to say, man, I'm picking up what you putting down, Dre. Yeah. I'm picking up what you putting down.
Let's go here for a minute. I got to talk about this because this is another download. And it's gonna piggyback on what you just said.
Okay.
When do you know that you need to shift that trait of thought? So we're gonna go here for a minute. Some current, so people can relate to this. Mm-hmm. We see this award ceremony where all of a sudden the dude with the Tourette's goes.
Yeah.
Now, I just had to talk with somebody about this.
Yeah.
And I said, that's some pretty fucked up shit.
Yeah.
I said, let me explain to you why I think this is some pretty fucked up shit. I don't know too much about Tourette's. I had a college roommate that had it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I don't know if it was Tourette or if it was stuttering, but he had it. So let's just give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Let's just say the illness made him say that. But in order for this man to say that, it had to be in his head to come out.
It had to be downloaded. There's your download, right? It had to be downloaded. I got you.
So let's get past him saying that. Mm-hmm. And let's look at the two people that was on the stage that was called this. Mm-hmm. Two male actors. I'm not going to mention their name because if you saw it, you know who they are.
Yeah.
But my question here is this. I put myself in that situation this morning, but right before me and you talked. And I said, Andre, how would you have addressed that if that was you? Instead of just standing up there looking like lights, camera, action, what the fuck? And I said, here's two dudes, and I follow both of their careers. You know, from the I can't think of the one Michael B. Jordan's
Michael
first
B. Hard, you follow him from Hardball.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, you live this dream to get to where you at. I'm gonna close this out, and I'm gonna let you comment on this. And people need to pay close attention to what I'm about to say. Yeah. You looked at dumbfounded there. Mm-hmm. Because what was said was already downloaded on that dude. That dude knew what the fuck he was about to say. He knew it, and he knew why he said it. But what I'm saying here is that was their dream, and their dream was to get to that level of credibility in that particular arena.
That room.
Not realizing that award that they're going for, the Oscar, was actually derived and invented from a black man.
Oh, really? See, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Never knew Oscar. That.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
So let's go deeper than this. Mm-hmm. There's tons of black and minority owned motion pictures. Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready to go deep. They may not be ready for this, but this is 2026. We're going to go deep. Do I feel sorry? Excuse me. Do I feel sorry for the act that happened? Or do I feel sorry for the people, the two actors? Or do I say, am I in the wrong place for my dream? Why can't I do like LeBron James and take my talents over here where I don't have to worry about people that haven't accepted me? Because in the real world, if I asked somebody to change places with me, we had this on season 1. and I had three white people on my show that were lawyers and a well-known businessman who clearly said, you drive a nice car, you live in a nice house. You date beautiful women, but I would never.
I figured that.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would never change place. So let's go. I'm getting ready to wrap this up and get your comment on there. I had to put myself in their shoes. And I'm thinking, you did all this to get to that level on that stage. Well, I'm getting the download, boys. It's getting hot in here. To still be disrespected.
Yeah.
To say at the end of the day, you're still a nigga.
I think, you know what, in my perspective is, you know, and it kind of sucks because as a person, you kind of get callous so much to the world and how it has been so much, obviously, for our people, you know, to know our culture, to know who you are and understand what it is that you come from. And I don't have to venture far. I can just stay within my own family and to know the background of my people coming from East Texas and the struggles of our people in my family in turn. So for me, it's like, you know, the world, you know, a lot of times of how your people are perceived, what the thought process is around your history, who you are and what you come from within this country. Right.
Right.
And so for me, I know a lot of the things that you shout on the mountaintops for your culture, who you are, what you come from, and fights for acceptance, fights for not being looked over, fights for being mistreated. You know, sometimes it's good for sometimes things to happen so the rest of the world can see how flawed. When you are somebody who's on the outside of our culture looking in and you think that sometimes what we say is just, I don't know, fluff. So for me, when I hear those things, it's like this is the reality of what our people face day in and day out. And here it is on a national scale, a monumental event.
And they didn't cut it, Tyler. They didn't cut it.
They didn't cut it.
They wanted the world to see reality. And
that's why. So when I look at Ryan Coogler, right? So let's go into the producer. When I look at somebody like Ryan Coogler, who is, I forget how much money he is making, Dre. I forget how high gross he is, but he's one of the top like producers, directors in Hollywood. Yeah. For your Black Panthers, for all these monumental movies, and he's still someone who faces all types of ridicule on a routine and regular basis. And sometimes when we talk about things, it's always met with kind of like getting stalemated, like the cries of our people. A lot of times they just kind of get swept underneath the rug. It's expected that we say these types of things, but when you can hear it on national TV from one of your counterparts, I'm not saying it will, but for me, sometimes I say, see, that's what other people need to hear because that's what we talk about, but nobody else wants to listen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it kind of went both ways for me. Was I surprised? I'm not surprised by anything anymore in my young adolescent years. Dre, you done been through a lot more than I have. I mean, you lived through so much of civil rights.
Yeah.
I'm not that don't surprise me. My hope is that by the craziness of it, I hope that somebody who thought that our words of our inequalities, whether they are in the workforce, the regular day world, or even what I deal with is the inequalities within the healthcare system.
Right.
And the stigma surrounding healthcare. My hope is that somebody on the outside looking in was like, we really did that. Like there are people in this world who really think like that.
Yeah.
Whether that happens or not, but that was kind of my mindset, was like, I hope somebody else can see it because we say it all the time.
Yeah.
These are the things that we deal with. But
let's go here before we wrap up. You're advocating for a voice of change in the healthcare industry and the way it's been perceived, the way they perceive it with us in general. Elaborate on that a little bit. And what do we need to do as a force, as humans who probably are dealing with the same stigmatism to do? What should our cry be to help you bring awareness to your mission?
I mean, the mission is what it is. Obviously, has always been for our culture as people is that education is power, and so to know your history when you're dealing with healthcare, know things about the black body. Understand who Henrietta Flax was. Understand healer. Understand about how the black body was experimented on and gave birth to a lot of the different remedies, a lot of the different understandings that surgeons and people historically have. Nowadays, a lot of it came from the experimentations on the black body. And so to know
1940,
that navigating the health,
1947.
There you go. So that's what I'm saying.
1947, 1942, that was the experimental period where they was basically doing genetic testing on people and people didn't know about it.
Right. Understand the Tuskegee Institute, right? Just take time to learn things culturally about your people because it helps you better be equipped to navigate the healthcare system and to know that there are stigmas that have been present, especially within this country, that you have embraced and have to live through as a black person who is advocating for yourself from a healthcare standpoint. No. And so for me, I want people to, number one, know your history and know why it's so incredibly important that you educate yourself as best as you can before stepping foot into a doctor's office. I want us to start doing our homework. If you are newly diagnosed with anything, if you are dealing with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, I want you to do your research. I want you to come into any doctoral space with history. I want you to know something, because what you have to do with your time is to advocate for yourself as a patient of whatever it is that you're going to see the doctor for. Number two, there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion on anything. If you feel like you need more information, if you feel like you were overheard, if you feel underheard, if you feel like you were mistreated, you don't have to stay with the same doctor. You need to go find someone else within the healthcare system. Okay. That's number two. You don't have to just take somebody else's word. Be prepared to get a second opinion. With whatever it is that you're going through, there are many, many organizations that are out there that have influence over the right information for people of color. So number two is look for those organizations. And it's I know I'm being broad, but I just want to speak to people who aren't just living with MS, because we all have to go through and navigate the healthcare system.
Right.
And so understanding your history and knowing that if it's not right, if you and that physician don't have a good relationship, go see somebody else.
Yeah.
Please. And don't feel like you have to hang on to those words of that person when you know good and well that person don't have your best interest as a patient, because you deserve better and you can deserve better. It's called advocating for yourself, speaking up for yourself. Be equipped with those things and educate yourself as best as you can. Thirdly, educate yourself as best as you can before entering into the doctor's office. We all know that there is only a certain amount of time that you have. So come in with your list, come in with your written down questions, come in with things that are genetically historic about your family and what you have found out, and make sure that these are the things that you have to get understanding of, and break them down to three. Come in with three answers that you know you need before you leave any physician's office. And that's your focal point. And it's through your own education. And that way you steer and navigate how you want your healthcare to go within this country. But lastly, those organizations, I'll say it again, there are organizations. We have an African American advisory board for the multiple sclerosis people, for Black people who are living with MS. It may not be MS for you, but there are organizations by people of color with whatever it is that you're dealing with. If you are a Black person who is listening to this, and that should be a focal point of where you dictate your research to go. We are here. We are out here. And a lot of times that we have a bad stigma about the doctor. The worst thing that we can do, especially as Black men, is to just say we won't go.
Yeah.
Please don't do that, because that is the worst part about it. Just be ready to do the work when you're in it, but don't be somebody who says, I just don't want to go.
Yeah, that was powerful information. It's so funny. Um, I had a friend that just went through that like a couple months ago, and I was like, "Look, dude, I can come to your house all day and clean out your icebox, but I want you to go to the doctor. I want you to ask these questions,
Yes.
and you need to be firm. And if they're not what you want, then you need to go get a second opinion. But at the end of the day, you got to do the work.
You got to do the work.
You got to do the work.
Ain't nobody gonna love you like you love you. So just get an understanding of that right away. But we fight over anything else, my brother. We fight if somebody disrespect us. We fight if somebody else talk about our old lady. We fight if somebody else, heaven forbid, you talking about my children, my babies, and we go cuff to cuff and blow for blow. So that level of fight, may it be physical or may it be another level of altercation, I want us to have that same level of fight with our words for our health care. And don't take a mistreatment for an answer. Because the thing that are things that are common in our community is misdiagnosis and missed diagnosis. And the only way you can alleviate that is not taking no for an answer. When something is wrong with you, doggone it, you know your body, something is wrong with you, and you find somebody who will listen to those words.
Man, I knew it was a reason it was going to be a powerful episode.
Hey, man, I love you, man. I like I said, I respect the movement. 5 years is special. I celebrate because I know whatever you getting blessed with by having the opportunity to be on your platform and you sharing a space with people like us, we get blessed tenfold because of it. Because that's the way the man up above works. So whatever he's sprinkling over your life, I want him to continue to rain it down. Because by chance, if I can just get a little bit of the drops,
I'm trying to get.
That's gonna be all I need, right? That's gonna be all I need. Because you got a heart for us.
Let me ask a question. Definitely, you've always had that beast mindset. You come from that bloodline of just say no attitude. That's figure out a way to make it done. With so much that you've overcome. And this, I usually ask people this question all the time. What's your purpose? What's your end game? What's your purpose here?
My purpose is to live out my gift to speak. I have a gift to speak, but I have a purpose to serve.
Whoa.
So I'm a speaker, right? I love words. Wrote a book. Amazon bestseller. Did that. It's a gift. But if I'm not helping people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be business oriented, my heart feels empty, like something is lost. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what I mean by serving, I mean making myself available for people. And the slogan of each one reach one and each one teach one, those are things that really, they've been ingrained in my spirit from an early age. I don't do well, Andre, if I don't help somebody. And I'm not talking about helping people make money or helping people with jobs. I'm like, it's not that. It's like, if I can't help you with something, if I can't help connect you, if I can't help with a phone call to check in to see how you're doing, then my soul screams. If I can't help out my wife with something, and she got all the brains in the world, Dre. She just got into doctorate school to the University of Kentucky. My wife got all the brains. All right. Come from inner city Oakland. First one to go to college. First one to get a master's. Now she's going to be the first one to get to doctorate. So me and my wife grew up totally different, right? She's that person. If I can't help her today in something, then my heart screams as a man. Today wasn't a good day. So the speaking and all those other things, they're great. That's a gift. But the purpose, what you're talking about, is huge. And the purpose is the gift from God. The gift is that thing that you do with power, with joy, and with love, even if nobody pays you a dime to do it. That's your gift. When you found that, you got your gift. But when I talk about purpose, your purpose is your calling from God. And my calling is very simple. My calling is that every day I have to serve. And if I don't serve, my soul and my spirit, they weaken. And I know that about myself because I've had many conversations with that man that I see in the mirror. My gift is to speak, but my purpose is to serve.
How can the viewers reach out to you and get your book? Where's your book at? So people can get. How do they get a copy of that?
Listen, Dre. I always put it on. I put it on Amazon. You can go to Barnes and Nobles and get it online. But everybody nowadays they buy things off of Amazon. So if you go to Amazon, you type in "The Ball Came Out: Life from the Other Side of the Field" by Tyler Campbell. The Ball Came Out: Life from the Other Side of the Field, Tyler Campbell. You'll see my face. But I wanted it to be a place where everybody could have access to. So you can go to Amazon or you can go to barnesandnobles.com, whichever one. And
sounds like a winner. Thank you so much for taking time out to bless me.
Thank you.
Coming on with season 5. Definitely going to have you always come back. There's always a place for you here. Anything I can do on my end to help amplify your message, my number.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And I love you. And by the way, your boy, I think is his name Darnell. Shout out to Darnell because he won. He stayed on me. He got me everything I needed. So shout out to the people working behind the scenes that we don't see. How about that? Shout out to them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, follow. Click that button because all it takes is one click to change somebody's life and maybe make a difference in yours. This has been another, and I do mean another, exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show.